Everybody is doing well. I'm gonna try not to make this super long. I've missed you, so while I give people a chance to see the notification, I'm just gonna say a few things real quick as we wait. First thing is always, this is being shared per the Fair Use Act of 1976 for the purposes of education and or criticism and or entertainment. I do not promote violence in any way, shape, or form, nor retaliation against anyone that I may mention in the video. I do not promote false accusations. I believe in innocence until proven guilty, and I do believe in maintaining some semblance of balance when addressing these important and vital topics. I believe that there are those out there who exacerbate certain agendas or certain rhetoric, and here's why that's done. If you go to the nth degree, let's say you go to the extreme in regards to reptilians, right? And you're one of those people who talks about them all the time, and you try to convince other people that they're real and that they do things with children. It might very well be true that things are done with children, but it might be very false that it's done by some a reptilian humanoid version. Sometimes things are said like that and made to seem ridiculous so that the truth of that matter, that there's harm being done to children, will seem ridiculous too. We have to understand this. We have to be wise. I'm very discouraged, not by my group here, you guys are awesome, but I'm very discouraged by the interactions that I'm seeing amongst other people online, especially on Reddit, and in person too. It's a little bizarre now that I'm currently, for the moment at least, working part-time. I'm going to address that in a second too. These topics might look like they don't relate, but they do. And I'm also going to mention another channel, and I rarely do this, but people keep sending me videos from that Occult 101. I don't disagree that some of what he says might be true, but he's another example of someone who's telling us what he is exactly. He tells us that he is a Jew, and then he talks crap about Jewish people, which I do not condone either. Personally, I don't believe we should make blanket statements about any one group. For myself, and I can only speak from my own perspective, but for myself, for example, I have light and dark within me. That's something that I personally battle every day. It's something we all battle. Everyone makes mistakes and errors every single day. I don't care what kind of error it is. None of us are perfect. But you rarely hear someone apologize anymore. Because if they apologize, then they have to admit that they did something wrong. And if they did something wrong, that would imply, per natural law, we'll leave God out of it for now, per natural law, that most moral men of society have, can, and did agree to, which is where the Constitution sprung forth from, was natural law to protect human rights. There's a lot of very anti-American, anti-Christian rhetoric out there, a lot of race baiting happening. If you're seeking that type of thing, this is not the channel for you. Blanket statements are dangerous, and they can hurt people, and they can lead to unfortunate events and circumstances. So again, we're going to approach this topic with a very balanced headspace, but we're also going to look at it from a little bit of a supernatural angle, and I don't see a lot of other people do this. And I'm going to refer to beings that participate in certain things simply as individuals, because we just don't know, do we? And most people don't have proof. But we know that something is happening. We know that people are going missing. I've told you before, I've woken up a lot recently with, and somebody told me when it first started happening, oh, you just got a bite on your hairline. That's just something bit you. And I was like, okay, whatever. That was years ago when I was staying with my mother and my children were younger. And there were 2 marks on the back of my neck. And so I let it go. It wouldn't go away. It took a long time for it to leave. And then recently, again, it started happening in certain times and circumstances. And I believe what's happening is, quote unquote, their alien abduction thing, and I don't actually believe that's what's happening. And I'm sorry, as much as I want to believe that there's other life out there, and I do believe that there are other life forms out there, I don't think that's how it's playing out. I think that the individuals doing these things are, unfortunately, very human and just very reprobate at this point. Again, this is going to be a really hard talk. But these are important topics, and this is an important time to talk about these things because it is gaining traction. Now, again, I believe that the root of a lot of this is, you have to understand, things are multifaceted. They want a race war. They want civil war. That is what the individuals who, quote unquote, set up our worldly system, set up our matrix. And by matrix, I'm not speaking spiritually there. I'm speaking of the world system itself. Okay. God gave the earth to humans, but the worldly system and the kingdoms and all that stuff, we are told that Satan runs those, that's his dominion. How that sorts itself out, I don't know exactly, but most of you know how I feel about that. I feel that that is a line very mistaught in every church. They say, well, Satan, look, he offered Jesus every kingdom. You know, what does that mean when he says, I'll give you every kingdom shall be yours? It means that they're his. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. Everybody's forgetting the first rule. First rule of Fight Club. What's the first rule of dealing with wickedness or evil or darkness or the devil, whatever you call it? That it's a deception. Most of it is an illusion. The devil is a liar. He doesn't have to own anything. God gave this planet or this plane to man. Yes, we fell. And I guess Satan runs it by default because we never kicked him out. And I believe that's a very important topic too. And this is why I receive a lot of hate. And let me address that person making videos about me yet again. I don't even have 200 subscribers at this point. So can we use a little bit of intelligence here and not pretend that we're 5-year-olds on the playground? Because that's what a lot of this expose and these arguments and these videos about each other are coming off as 5-year-olds on a playground. The bullies that we dealt with in grade school, that's all these people are. And it's very low level, and I feel very sorry for them, and I pray for them. To go around saying things about me that aren't even true. I saw that I got a notification. I did not watch the video. I'm not exposing myself to that type of thing and criticism anymore. For someone to say, women who live alone, first of all, I don't live alone. I've never lived alone. I have not lived alone ever. I went straight from my parents' house to my in-laws. And now it's me, my spouse, and my oldest child. The youngest one did move out. I'm not alone. These people make these baseless assumptions. And again, I'm not going to get into it's playground antics. So please don't send me that stuff either. I simply don't care anymore. Hey, Randy. Good morning. I hope you and Tibbs are well. Nice to hear from you. All right, so let's get started. Now that I've made all of the I can't even remember what it's called now. But now that I've done that, let's get into the topic of the video. And I know you're going to say, what do any of these have to do with each other? Okay, well, first, we did a video on Dr. Sleep on the old channel. But we're going to tie a couple things in here that I'd like for you to see. So let's look at the symbolism first. I want to take a look here. Of course, you have the shining, you have the background, which always implies to me some type of labyrinth. And then you have, let's see this picture. Okay, so they're playing off the original movie, obviously. And there's good spoilers here. I apologize if you haven't seen this yet. I liked it. I like Ewan McGregor. I thought it was tastefully done for the topic that it touches on. So let's read the brief overview, okay? Struggling with alcoholism, Dan Torrance, that's Danny grown up, which was Jack Nicholson's son, remains traumatized by the sinister events that occurred at the Overlook Hotel when he was a child. His hope for a peaceful existence soon becomes shattered when he meets Abra. It's an Abra, okay? What is Abra? Abracadabra. And what does that mean? Allegedly, it is a word that resonates with quote unquote magic, whatever you'd call it. And it means to open a doorway, abracadabra, okay? And again, when watching videos about symbolism and stuff, not every symbol out there, not every color out there is related to some type of sexual deviancy. That's just people who see through eyes like that, through a lens, and they're making everything about sensuality. They have an issue. They have a problem. They have an addiction maybe to some type of deviant behavior in that arena. People who constantly, and that's why I don't want any more videos of that occult science sent my way. I believe that he speaks some truth, but he tells us flat out that he's a Jew. He tells us how they're liars, how they're greedy. These are all from him about his people. Again, that's their way of telling us, well, I told you who I was. I told you who I was. You knew I was a snake when you let me in the door. You guys got to be more wise in choosing who you're watching. And not everybody. Again, these are a few key people who keep bombarding my email box with that type of stuff. I don't want to see it. Now, we are going to talk about this topic here in a real world way. And we are also going to look at it in a supernatural way. But we're not going to make any false accusations. We're not going to say that every single color out there and every symbol out there has to do with someone's. And we're going to say sensuality to avoid the other word. Just for censorship reasons and all that, Keep it classy, right? Try to. It's not a good look, guys. All this fighting and bickering back and forth. I don't know what these people think they're doing. If they think they look good or make themselves look good. Rubik's Cube style. Kind of lost me there. So anyways, not everything out there has to do with sensuality, okay? Now, are there people that turn symbols into wickedness? Yes, of course. The pentagram began as a decent symbol. It was the Star of David. When the star's points are not connected and it's right side up, it's also Vitruvian Man. And I don't want to hear about how all this is related to sex, because it's not. If you take a class in art history, if you've even if you've just taught yourself about art and art history, you'll understand that everything has a symbolic meaning to it. Yeah, I did touch on that already. To me, it's evocative. It symbolizes a labyrinth. But it could also be, if you look at it closely, and this is what we're going to touch on, you see the background, what does that look like? That looks like chromosomes and helixes. And again, we're going to look at something, just hang on. Okay, so abra, which means to open a doorway, abracadabra. A teen who shares his extrasensory gift of the shine, together they form an unlikely alliance to battle the true knot. A cult whose members try to feed off the shine of innocence to become immortal. What does that mean to you? What do you think they're talking about there? Well, let's look at a few images. And we've talked about these bright blue eyes before. Like, what is that? Why are there so many people now with these shiny blue eyes? It's very rare that I see somebody with brown eyes unless they are a person of color anymore. I'm one of the only people around that I've seen with brown eyes. And even people that I recall having a certain eye color, now they're suddenly different. Is it something physical? Is it physiological? Or is it something spiritual taking hold and manifesting in the physiological? Well, if you know me and you know this channel, I believe all things start and begin in the spirit, and then they manifest in the physical. So by the time you're seeing it in the physical, it's already a quote unquote problem. I try not to use the word sin, not because I disagree with it, but because I don't want people to be turned off by the material, right? Again, most of us in a civilized society can agree to having some semblance of morality that follows man's natural law, right? We can see that nature is set up in some type of way as to where there are laws of physics, of consequences to your actions. We see this happening every day. We don't need to be a scientist, to test these things and see that they are true. I've had people say that to me ever since I was a child. You shine too much. You shine too bright. And now I swear people's thoughts are too loud because they're like bouncing off the inside of my brain. And again, it's not about me being special. It's about sharing the testimony and saying, hey, wake up. God is here. He's doing something new in people and waking people up so that we're not defenseless, so that we're not ignorant. And by ignorant, I mean lacking in knowledge and unaware of the things happening around us, because God's children perish for lack of knowledge because we do not educate ourselves about the enemy and what the enemy does. Sorry about the charging thing. Again, if you know me, you know that you'll see that a lot. If you understand the way that I'm speaking, please do consider giving the video itself a thumbs up. That lets me know that I'm getting things across in a proper way. And we often do this. I try to do this with videos because there's so much going on today. We play the old Sesame Street game. Which one of these things doesn't belong, or how are these things connected, and what does it mean? So what are they feeding off of, do you think? So here's a scene from the movie. I don't want to get weepy. What they do is they kidnap children. And what you're seeing right there is her eyes are glowing because they are, quote unquote, consuming this child's, quote unquote, shine. I think some of my comments are getting dropped. Oh shoot, I'll fix that. I can't fix it now, but I will fix it when the video posts. So if there's anything that you want to say, to add to the commentary, or a part of your own testimony that you think is relevant, do so after the video. I will click on allow all comments, but just know that YouTube still deletes certain things. So if you're going to use certain words, which I'm going to show you right now, you want to conceal them somewhat. Thumbs up. You'll write it, you just won't click it. Everybody's afraid to like my channel because then things happen. I'm already getting heckled and stalked again, and I don't even have 200 subs. That's really suspect, guys. You should ask yourself why these things are happening. I've already had a few instances of strangeness at work, people saying certain things. It's obvious my material's being watched, or this demonesque spirit type thing, this demonic spirit that likes to follow me, is being like the fallen and bouncing into people, because I've already had people mention certain things. And I'll tell you this, two of the people that work there are kind of suspicious to me. They've been around town for a long time. And even though I know they rub me like they're an enemy, I still am kind to them. I still pray for them. I still don't have any problems with them. But Agent Smith is real, sure is. But I need people to know, I'm not blind, I'm not dumb, and I'm not stupid. And that's the problem, is people like me get ridiculed and picked on still like it's high school. You won't see it with the bigger channels because they have sponsors. They actually have people behind them. So they have that cushion, right? They have a hedge of protection around them in their sponsorships and their support group. I don't have that. And mine is coming right from the town that I live in. This all started with me because I started talking about things like this. And again, I don't look at them from a fantasy type of angle. We might use movies to help us better digest the material because it is so wicked. So we use books and we use imagery and we use movies and stories to relate these things to each other, so that maybe, like what happened to me, your whole world isn't wrecked and you nearly lose your mind because suddenly you realize that these things are happening around you and possibly to you, but you just don't have the full memories of them happening. So what they're doing here is they're all crouched around one of the children that they kidnapped and abducted. And I find it very interesting that they call themselves the true knot. You know what Mary's, Jesus' mother, is called? She's called the undoer of knots. I find that fascinating. For years, to fall asleep, I would rub my pillowcase and it would get to the point where like threads would be pulled off, or like it would just be a thread, like one piece, because it would start falling apart. And like with the little edge, I would start just tying knots with my fingers in it before I ever started saying the rosary and stuff. So it's strange. What does not mean? It means to be like you're trapped, right? There's no way in, no way out. It's a pretzel and it keeps going around and around. And that's what I was trying to show you in the background. That could also be DNA and chromosome helixes, which we're going to look at next. So when they consume the shine, the quote unquote shine of a child, their eyes glow bright blue. They get a glow from within. They steal their youth, a part of their shine. What does that mean? Their essence. Some people would call it your louche. I don't believe they can steal your soul. I don't think, especially with children, I don't think that's allowed. What they consume is the fear of that child because it vibrates at a certain frequency, and they actually consume that. Now, if you want to talk physical logistics, how is this done? In the movie, they show them as like just sucking this smoky essence into their lungs. You ever get into the Grimm series? You know what? I started to watch that because I worked my whole life, and then while I've been off work, I just kind of was watching a lot of stuff to catch up and see what was going on. And I'm a fan of theirs. I have one of their old books I got at the Magic Consignment Shop down the road. But I didn't get into the series a whole lot. No, sorry. But we can talk about it anytime. So much like, and I want to show you this, because once you start thinking about things, you realize, wow, how long has this been going on? Ah, yes, okay, I think I remember that. And there you get into the insecticide thing, too. All right, hold up, because I forgot where I was going with this. Oh, okay. Who saw this as a child? How many of you saw this? What are they doing in this movie? What do they do to these two little ones? This one here. What do they do? What is the crystal? They take the shine or the essence of the young ones, of the Jen, raised by the noble race called the Mystics, has been told that he is the last survivor of his own race, the Gelflings. He sets out to try to find a shard of the dark crystal, a powerful gem that once provided balance to the universe. After the crystal was born, the evil Scasis used sinister means to gain control. What are those sinister means? Do you remember? Have you seen this? What do they do to these Gelflings? Well, these nasty guys, I guess they would be the vultures, the crows, right? Ah, okay, good one. I've not seen that. Awesome, Stardust movie. So they're doing the same thing, basically. Here's the good guy. This would be Yoda, right? This is what happens when they go rogue. Okay? But what do they do? I want to find where they're actually trapped in the chair, right? We've talked about these chairs and things like that. Come on, show me the old... She's actually nice. I think she's a good one, but... Where is it? Skeesis. Dark... Okay, so these guys are the Skeesis. They're like Gollum, right? This essence makes them wicked. Basically what they do is they steal the essence of these Gelflings. Okay? It's the same thing that they're talking about in, whatchamacallit, in Dr. Sleep. I wanted to find... See, there's the chair... No, it's at the castle or the chair. I think it's a castle. Let's see if they show it. There. This is what they do. They steal their light or their essence for their own corrupt means, right? Because they want something, right? Follow me here. Back to Dr. Sleep. Okay, then, now, in other movies, it has been shown that the being is in a chair and there is a syringe placed in the neck, and that this serum, this chrism, is actually taken from the person's spine, from the top of the spine, because at the point of passing, at the point of death, they are in such a state of fear that it gets their spinal fluid and blood, you know, they're inside, geez, I don't even know how to phrase this. This is a very touchy topic, so we're just going to type it out and see what happens. It is a chemical compound produced by the oxidation of adrenaline. It was the subject of limited research from the 1950s through to the 70s as a potential cause of schizophrenia. While it has no current medical application, the related derivative compound, carbazochrome, is a homeostatic medication. Okay, what does this look like? What What am I saying? This, when I said about the wallpaper, the shining wallpaper in the background of Dr. Sleep, kind of looks like those, right? Okay. But where does it come from and what is it? Where do they get it from? Comment, I was wondering if when someone gets into showbiz, if they cease to exist and become a sort of flesh outfit for an entity to wear. But literally, like, shift between Jodie Foster and Michael J. Fox. You know, I've noticed a strange phenomenon, and somebody said this to me at work. Like I said, they follow me everywhere. They said, yeah, there are so many people that look alike, and I hadn't said nothing, right? Like, I'm at work trying to maintain just being normal. I don't talk about high strangeness things. I pretty much mind my business unless I'm dealing with a customer. I don't want them, to leave feeling ignored, whatever. Some people say I overdo it. I don't know anymore. Funny things happen after you have a head injury and an NDE. You're not the same ever again. And I will probably never be that person again that people are expecting me to be. And these same people are the ones that cause that damage to me. And it's just this endless cycle. So I talk about things like this because they're important and they're vital. And you have to know, like I said, when it's taken to extremes is when people will dismiss us and they won't believe us. Like the Mandela effect, you have to use logic and reason first. I don't discuss brand changes about the Mandela effect. I don't discuss map changes. Cartography, have you seen the maps of our world? Every single one of them is different. Every single one. Because we all are speaking from a different perspective and a different experience. And companies change their brand and logo over time. It's not any mystery. I mean, I took marketing classes. I know how that works. And every now and again, they'll jazz up a logo. They don't want to change it completely because they want you to recognize it, but they might modernize it for the new generation. They do the same thing with movies. My mom owned a video store. They will tape or record several endings, you know this, and then when they sell the director's cut DVD or Blu-ray, whatever, download, it will have an alternate ending and deleted scenes that were never seen before. So both scenes probably exist for Star Wars. Luke, I am your father. And whatever the other one is, I forget. But we have to be wise when we're bringing these topics to people because they're going to just dismiss us if we sound like lunatics and we're not using logic and reason first. And again, I don't, people are going to, if you're making fun of me, I'm a woman who has 2 grown children. Like, you've got serious issues if you are, I'm not a threatening character, right? Like, I'm not a threat to anybody except for apparently Agent Smith, because that grubby thing won't leave me alone. Okay, so what is this? The oxidation reaction that converts adrenaline into chrome occurs both in vivo and in vitro, okay? In vitro, silver oxide is used. In solution, AC is pink, and further oxidation of the compound causes it to polymerize into brown or black melanin compounds. Several small-scale studies conducted in the 50s and 60s reported that AC triggered psychotic reactions such as thought disorder and derealization. Hold up, let's see what this means. Derealization is an alteration in the perception of the external world, causing those with the condition to perceive it as unreal, distant, distorted, or falsified. Other symptoms include feeling as if one's environment is lacking in spontaneity, emotional coloring, and depth. It is a dissociative symptom that may appear in moments of severe stress. Hold, please. What am I going to say now? Number 1, I use Wikipedia and Google, so it's not censored. Any information we find, it is up to you to accept or receive as truth or to reject. If you accept and receive it as truth, you are consenting to that belief to be a part of your personal paradigm. I throw in things about consent all the time because that matters so much. I see other people now making videos about it. Finally, good. But don't make videos about it unless you are prayed up, because Agent Smith will come with his 7 buddies and they will not leave you alone. Once you open this Pandora's box, there's no going back. This I don't like. And at least they're saying this article has multiple issues. Derealization. That is what a lot of us have today. A lot of us are saying, okay, this world seems really broken and fake right now. I don't think there's anything wrong with seeing that because it's true. Okay, so don't freak out and say, oh my God, maybe I consume some of this not knowing. I mean, do I think they put it in our food and drink? Yeah, I do. I think we've all probably unknowingly and unwittingly have done this, and I think we should all confess it to God, repent, and say that we do not consent to it being a part of our bodies or whatever, unless it's our own and God, puts it there. So, everything that we look at, take with a grain of salt. You have to test the spirit. What does that mean when Scripture tells us to test the spirit? It means you apply it in your own life. Be a scientist. Yes, be a scientist with spiritual things. Apply the law or rule into your own situation, and then document your findings, how the consequences play out. And then decide if you're going to believe, yes, this is true, I've proven it to myself, or no, it's not. But a lot of us are having this derealization problem right now. I'm creeped out that synthetic was ever created or that so many people need EpiPens. Thank you for bringing that up, because we're getting into that next. People need to know where these things they have are coming from. EpiPens was big for me when this all started. There was a movie, then I got bit by a bee. I'm very allergic to them. I had EpiPens here, and I did not use them. And I'm glad I didn't, because we're going to get into what our new friend just said below in a second. Okay, so they did do experiments with this, but here's what you need to ask yourself. Where are they getting this? So in the early 2000s, interest was renewed by the discovery that AC may be produced normally as an intermediate in the formation of neuromelanin. This finding may be significant because AC is detoxified at least partially by glutathione S-transferase. Some studies have found genetic defects in the gene for this enzyme in pop culture. In the 1954 book, Doors of Perception by Huxley, he's another one too, mentioned the discovery and the alleged effects of AC, which he likened to the symptoms of mescaline intoxication, although he had never consumed it. Mescaline is mentioned in what movie? With whom? Johnny Depp. Johnny Depp is real big in bringing their agendas to us, and I know that he's a part of the club because I insulted him in my own home and somebody went the F off on me, and yes, I just dropped a fake F-bomb, sorry, but that's what happened. And I'm like, why are you defending this person like they are your brother? Well, maybe because it was his brother. It was Johnny Deppling too. Alleged child killers that were released. Damien Echols is playing a role in this end time stuff. He's got a YouTube channel. I don't mention it. I've checked it out for research purposes. And he is living near Joshua Tree. And you guys know what I think about Joshua Tree. So he's a part of this in some way as well. And by this, I mean certain things that are coming to fruition. What did we do in the 1700s or before the movie My Girl Bee Allergy So Dire? Culkin. I know, I'm allergic to bees, and my whole hand, I will swell up like a balloon. The danger is that you can't breathe. If you get stung, in the heart, the closer an injury is to your heart, like an infection, remember the sissy test in school where you'd rub somebody with an eraser? You do that, you can infect somebody pretty quickly with whatever's on that pencil, and you can see a red line start at their hand, and it will go to their heart, and they could die. I had that happen with one of the tattoos I was given when all this began. And I had to put my whole arm in ice and take an allergy pill. I didn't know if it was a reaction to the ink or what, but yeah, it is a danger. But there are simple anti-inflammatories available to where you don't have to do this. So I want to know where it's derived from. Oh, wow, I didn't know there was protesting going on about this. That's one protest I might join. Most of them I don't, but that I would. All right, let's see what the National Institute of Health has to say about this, and then we'll take a look at the top. I want you guys to understand some symbology. I knew a kid with a bee allergy growing up. He was redhead. Yeah, they're coming. I've done talks about that too. Okay, so AC, PubChem CID 5898. Structure 2D. There's the 2D and the 3D version. Okay. Some people say it looks like a rabbit. No, I can't put it sideways. I guess I. Okay, so if you tilt this, I'm going to the right with my phone. So if you change this over and move it, that could somewhat resemble a rabbit, right? And we're always told, follow the rabbit, follow the white rabbit, follow the white rabbit, okay? I want to know where they get it from. Hold, please. This is why it's called research with me, because I'm learning with you. We have looked at this before. I had a whole book on it that was actually found on Kindle. I was surprised at that. Hello. Okay, so we're going to pop out of here real quick. Okay. Yeah, an imaginary drug. See, the Daily Beast, there are people very anti this rhetoric, okay? But what did I show you up here? They did studies on it in the 50s and 70s, okay? And people like Wired are telling you that it's a false conspiracy, that it's not real, the Daily Beast, okay? Okay, this is everywhere. Now, is it happening? I found a truckload in Canada. I wouldn't doubt that. Is this actually happening? Is this what's happening with all of our missing children, with the missing 411? Is this what they're doing? I know something's happening. I just don't know. Okay, I want to know. Okay, so they just told us it didn't exist, right? But here we're saying in the garden, or the Guardian, can we reverse the aging process, spelled wrong, by putting young blood into older? And they do this already. And guess who's promoting it? I saw an ad yesterday on YouTube. Chrissy Teigen. Okay, which I won't even get into her. I don't do that type of celebrity gossip. I try not to gossip at all. It's not good for us. It's not edifying. But this is related. She's promoting saving your placenta cord and the blood from that. They say that they do a lot of life-saving research with that stuff. Is that true? Is that true? When do they ever have a celebrity push something? When they want the masses to consume it, right? When they want them and by consume, I don't always mean eat. I mean like read or believe, right? So we're right here. Let's just click on the first one. Anti-aging. AC anti-aging, which is particularly well known in Hollywood and the White House. Is this okay? Is this like an onion? Is this real? What is happening here? Okay, so we were hold please. We were basically just being gaslighted by Hollywood, by Wired and by The Guardian, telling us that this is fake, that it's a conspiracy theory, right? Well, right here they're saying that it is well known in Hollywood and the White House. Do you see what I mean? When I say you can find any information out there that you want to find to back up your particular belief. But you have to discern. Not everything you're being fed is true. Okay, there's both sides. You'll find information backing up both sides. But you got to keep digging. Which of those sides has merit? Which of those sides can you prove out, like in a hypothesis? And right here, they're selling it. Now, is it synthetic? We don't have a synthetic for something unless we've learned about the organic compound. Does that make sense? Do you understand what I'm saying? We have to understand how an organic thing works before we can splice its genes or make it synthetic ourselves. First, we have to study the organic form. Another interesting observation is that a lot of the celebs on the list seem to be in better shape than they were in the past. As a kind of medication, AC accelerates the aging process. Accelerates? Is this a joke? I can't. As a kind of medication, AC accelerates the aging process and might produce hallucinations if not administered frequently. During the pandemic, several celebrities were claimed to have been unable to reach AC, resulting in apparent variations in their skin tone and texture. As an endocrine secretion, AC is produced from pure adrenaline. So that's when you're in fight or flight, when you're in a constant state of fear. And what were you ever taught as a child about hunting or anything? Or even in fairy tales? The beast can smell your fear. This is why the first lesson I taught anyone was get rid of your fear. The moment I did that, these things had no access to me. Now, do they still bother me? Yeah. Are they still a nuisance? Yeah. Do I wish they would go away? Yeah. But they no longer can harm me because I'm prayed up. And when you're not prayed up, though, like, you don't want to leave any doors open. Abracadabra, I want to reach out and grab ya. And her name, from Dr. Sleep, abracadabra, means to open a doorway. See how all these things fit together. Now, I don't know if this is a joke. What is AC anti-aging? As a result of its molecular arrangement, AC with the chemical formula C9H9NO3. I want to plug that into a gematria calculator like right now and know what that plays out to be. Because C can be a 3. And 993 is also known as the white rabbit. Additionally, it might be described as adrenaline that has been oxidized. Blood of youngsters between the ages of 0 and 9 used to generate the required adrenaline hormone. Human AC production is higher in early children and adolescents, thus youngsters between the ages of 0 and 9 are the best candidates. Basically, the body secretes this hormone as a way to protect itself from the outside world. They are designed to safeguard a patient's body, especially when they are nearing the end of their lives. In research done in 1939, experiments conducted to reanimate a dead frog's heart and transform it into serum in the laboratory. As a result of the study conducted in 1939, the first scientific proof that children's blood converts into serum in Germany. And where? Where? Oh, Germany again. The gifters that gave us Project Paperclip. Twins everywhere. Twins. Clone is just another word for twins. Do you see why I'm showing you this? Because they want you to believe in clones. They want us to believe. C is also X in reverse. 9 is a God code. Right. And 3, 6, and 9 are Tesla's magic or special numbers. And 9 could also be seen as a 6. Because upside down it's a 6. And they are inverting everything right now, even their own symbols. What was I gonna... Oh, Germany gave us Project Paperclip. This is why I'm anti-clone. Do I think there are clones out there? I don't think you can have a body without a spirit to animate it. This is why I've been wondering about in vitro fertilization and stuff too. If those eggs are frozen for however long, is God gonna grant that being a soul? Or is God involved in the whole process like he is other things? Or because we've removed the consent, we did it ourselves without the normal process. And again, I'm not picking on any group. I'm not saying I hate anybody. Nothing like this. These are scientific questions we're asking. Will these people grow up to be different than, quote unquote, the majority norm? Because I honestly don't believe that regular human being individuals of mankind work wickedness like this on their own. This came from somewhere. And you have to understand that. How are tests done? How did they find out that children's blood has these special properties in it? Where'd they get the blood? Was it donated? Was it consensual? Was the child in fear because they had to be taken to that point of fight or flight to test their theory? This is what I'm talking. This is, and again, you can get into animal testing. It's all the same type of thing. When does the betterment for the group outweigh the best welfare for the individual? I believe a well taken care of individual, one who is well balanced, has what they need to eat, has their basics, and one who is actually said, okay, this child is good with gardening, we're going to put them in the agriculture department for their school years. I wonder if live action role playing is further along than we know. Remote playing, bunker bodies up top so people underground can still interact up here. That's so weird you say that. I've been wondering a similar thing myself. Are we just entertainment at this point for the elites who are in hiding? Because obviously they're not getting about like they used to. Anytime any of them are on a video or anything, they're literally inside, and I don't know, I can't describe to you, like, there's all these reasons for big events being canceled and things not happening and all these excuses being made, but what's really happening behind the scenes? Like, that's why part of me, I don't know how to do this though, because I've never done it. I just want to get up and leave and start walking in places and seeing what other places are like. Britney Spears could be your boss. I don't even want to get into that. I think she's totally been hijacked, or she was gotten rid of a long time ago, that poor woman. I feel bad for people like that because I know what they go through. I might not have been exploited as badly, but some of us have been through very similar things in our lives, just for the fact that we're women and people want to exploit that. Women are the weaker, and so are children. We are easier to influence into compliance and sometimes. But right now I'm pretty proud to be a woman, or pleased to be a woman, because I see a lot of women standing firm in talking about things like this. And it takes cojones, trust me. Okay, so I don't understand. In addition to rejuvenating the heart, adrenochrome also repairs skin tissue and treats other illnesses. AC has a yellowish tint and may store in bulbs. You know, I know a lot of people the last few years that allegedly had cancer or had these things that they were supposedly going to die from. And suddenly they're fine. No, that never happened. That was a rumor. Like, I'm crazy. Like I just don't remember how my own life is playing out. But one person told me she had cancer. I know that I offended her because she was kind of snotty. Anyway, she's a prominent figure on our board here in this small town, and I guess I made her mad, but I made a lot of people mad with my mouth. And I've learned how to temper my mouth, and I'm learning how, this is a walk, and certain things take tact, and I realize that, and I understand that now. But I do not encourage cowardice. I do not encourage sitting down or bowing down to anyone or anything, because we are sovereign, number one. And number two, we need to stand firm and say, we do not consent to these shenanigans anymore. I don't want this stuff in our food. I don't want it in our drinks. I don't want you taking our children for it. And sometimes they'll take adults, depending, I think, upon their bloodline. I believe that's part of what's happening to me. You definitely have a snooper today, popping in and out of live stream. Yeah, I always do, though. That's like constant. Okay, so we're seeing right here, Scientific Tech Daily. Okay, this is a legit source. But we saw The Beast and Wired telling us that this wasn't real, that it didn't exist, that these kind of things don't happen. Right? Oh, come on now. No. Are you really not going to let me read it? Scientists identify factor in young blood that helps rejuvenate aging muscles. Oh, geez, this is from Pittsburgh. Come on, guys. Okay, so this is explaining the aging process, and I tell you how to avoid dying. Stop sinning. Sin leads to death, and this is definitely sinful behavior. Oh, Ambrose Company. Yep, one moment. Okay, so... Oh, is that what this is? There she is. Fabricia Ambrosio. Wow, what a name. Director of Rehabilitation for UPMC. That's where my dad was when he was passing. International and Associate Professor of Physical Medicine and Rehabilitation at the University of Pittsburgh. We're really excited about this research for a couple of reasons. In one way, it helps us understand the basic biology of how muscle regeneration works and how it fails to work as we age. I want to know who you're doing these studies on. Where are you getting this? That name literally means fresh blood. Her name? Fabricia Ambrosio. Jeez, unreal. EVs collected from old mice carried fewer copies of the instructions for Clotho than those from young mice. Where'd it go? Oh, wait. Protein. Now, remember, guys, what was big when CV started? They were talking about protein. They were talking about magnets. They were talking about, but again, they're showing they're showing us all of the right stuff, but in the wrong context. So that maybe our subconscious will pick it up, but our main awareness won't. Okay? Now, again, this is good and bad. It's good in the way that it will ease people into understanding the truth of what our world and what is happening and what it's going to take for this to not happen anymore. This mRNA stuff is a nightmare. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think crap like that was put in me without my consent. Again, they ask you for consent, but they don't tell you what they're actually doing. Everything that they have done or shown us has been entirely out of context. This is why we have to break it all down and figure out what it is and what's going on. But we can't talk forever. We have to be watchful. Certain people around you, these are everyday people. And I hold that claim, and I will not deny that. I don't care who says what. The elites are not people that we can see. They will not show you their real pictures because they know that when we find this stuff out, that there will be a mob after them for the crimes they've committed against children and against humanity. These people walk beside us every day in little positions. Say you have a family. One person works at the DMV. Another person works at Child Services. Someone else works in the court system. Someone else works in records. You can wipe, create. You could do anything to any of your enemies. You could pump up your own background, your own families, erase anything that was bad or wicked. These are regular, everyday people because they don't want you knowing who they are. This is very key that you understand this. These are people beside you every single day. I know this from experience. I know this because they did. I don't know if they wanted me to pick up on everything they were saying or if I wasn't supposed to. All I know is one day I woke up to what was happening around me, to my children, and to myself, and that it was a little too late, and that all I have now is God. That's it. And you guys who, praise God, you pray for me, because we don't have any praying people left, and me and my children need prayers a lot. I'm concerned, of course, about their souls as their mother. And of course, I want them to have good lives, too. But the main interest is their eternal being. Okay, so we know that this stuff's being done now, all right? Where the heck did the top hat come from? And why did I do that? Well, first, let's look at, where does a grow for studies come from? I'm sorry if that's a typoed mess. I want to know where you get it. Concrete business is way overlooked. I'm Italian. That makes so much sense to me. And I can't even reach my family now because they've hacked every social media I have. I have no way to reach anyone that might actually still care about me, love me, help me out. No way to do that. This is serious. Like people who talk about this stuff, they want us done. They want us gone. And I know how they're going to do it. I know what they're going to attempt to do. And I pray every day that God doesn't let it happen. And you can see that they are in fear at this point, or they wouldn't be coming after people like me so hard. And the people who don't show you their face, but they tell you about all these things, it's because they're confessing to you to remove their bad karma or whatever. They think that there's a loophole in natural law, and I'm sorry to be the one to inform them. That's what happens when your mind goes to reprobate status. You can't think out to logical conclusions and ends of things. This is not going to go well for any of you that are partaking of this. I meant they own the concrete business, but yes, that too. You know what I mean. Oh, I wish I had a friend close by. It's great to have you guys to talk to. But on another note, this is very hard to stop a video and then walk around town with my head held high because I refuse to, however many times I get kicked down, I'm going to keep getting back up until God raises me up and changes me in the twinkling of an eye. And I think, and you might not understand this, but I think that's part of what's happening here too. I do believe God is, or source, father, the grand architect, whatever you prefer to call the one who made you. God is not hateful. God is not vengeful. A God that created life did that through love. Something else got in. And I need to address something else too, because there are people on my channel that I've gotten close to. And again, I have to say, I know you. I know my enemies, man. And what sucks is that I love you. I've gotten to know you. I love you. I pray for you and your families. But I know you and I recognize you. The fact that you say things like, well, that person must have gotten that position through some of their own doing. Really? Is that how you feel about a woman who gets raped too, that it's her own fault? Is that how you feel about these children who get taken, who are under their parents' consent, so they should be under their protection, but even their parents don't know how to wield that properly? Do you think these children must have done something to put themselves in this position? Because all they were was born. They're small. They're mobile. An adult can pick them up, transport them wherever the heck they want them. I can't have open doors to conversations like that anymore. I just can't. This is getting too dangerous for me. I already know what's going to happen. God already told me, there's going to be two possibilities here. And so I just keep praying for the one, and I'm not, because of the law of resistance, I'm not resisting any one thing too much at this point. I'm trying to be as balanced as I can in all things. And that's basically what we got to do at this point, is just hold on. But stand firm in truth and love. The one who made us wouldn't make us just to watch us die. That's not what this was all about to begin with. I don't think we have to die, but I don't think we have to go to the means of consuming things like this. I think God will change us on his own. And again, I think this is wickedness. This is from the counterfeit kingdom. Oh, you want eternal life? Because you have two, right? You have eternal life, eternity, and you have immortality. Which one of those is better? Immortality, it seems like you have to take the life of others to have that. Vampires, all those beings and stories, and yes, they hold some truth. Or you can have eternal life, where your body is resurrected through means like quantum mechanics and quantum physics, which is actually just the finger workings of God. But we call them quantum mechanics. There's always a counterfeit, and this is the counterfeit of eternity. And if you do something like this knowingly, willingly, you are damned at that point, I believe. I don't believe in OSAS, once saved, always saved, none of that stuff. And I also don't believe, well, let's just say God has a plan, and if you are meant to meet Jesus, or however your salvation comes to be in that moment between you and God, that it will happen for you. I don't care where you're at on the planet. But this is wickedness. And no one who does a thing like this deserves any good thing. Now, they say in the garden that Adam and Eve ate from the tree of knowledge of good and evil. We weren't supposed to know evil to begin with. We weren't supposed to know that was even a possibility. But I kind of believe it had to happen, because if it didn't, we wouldn't have had our free will to disobey. God wants us to come back. That's how our free will is activated, so that we can come back because we want to know our Maker, and because we want to be in relationship, and because we want to know true love, not because we just don't know any different or better. That's not what God wants. God wants a family of beings that are almost, as equal as possible to him or her. So now we've seen that this is in the dark crystal. They talk about it there. It's in Dr. Sleep. And this is going to be weird. It's going to be a strange little... First, I want to show you a balloon graph. And I want to talk to you about organized crime real quick. Oh, geez, not like that. Jeez. Not a literal balloon. Circle. Umbrella graph. No. Hold, please. I'm really big into visuals so that I can kind of help you. Can I explain Dr. Sleep briefly? I already did, but yes, I will again. 1 second. Okay, so let's do an umbrella graph here. I wanted to get one that was visually pleasing. I got a dry erase board. I'm going to have to start drawing these things for you guys. It's not like I don't know how. Okay, let's use this one. See, on the top you have ABC. An umbrella graph means basically everything that falls under the umbrella of organized crime. What do you have under organized crime? Because this is everything to do with targeted individuals. We are the people who are awake and we see that things are happening in our neighborhoods and our surroundings. We are aware and we have to start telling these people, I see you. We see the trucks and vans moving in and out. We see different people with license plates from all over moving in and out. We see our children disappearing, our loved ones disappearing, our loved ones dying, while certain other ones are magically healed and restored. So what do you have under this umbrella of organized crime? Well, first you have trafficking. Well, no, let's do this in reverse because this might make it more understandable. So at the top there, you have organized crime, right? What's below organized crime? Well, you have racketeering and money laundering. Why? Why do you launder your money? Because it's dirty. Why is it dirty? Because it comes from either drugs, trafficking, and or exploitation of your fellow man. So trafficking, missing 411, kidnapping, racketeering, unconsensual deep web porn, because yes, it exists. It just happened to a big YouTuber, poor thing. All of these things fall under the same umbrella of organized crime. And what is organized crime? Well, at this point in time, ladies and gentlemen, that is our government. That is what's governing us, is organized crime. Drug cartels. I don't know why they're still trying to show that America is like united. I love America. Don't get me wrong. I love my country. I love my fellow man. I think we're all neighbors and we should all pray for each other. I've been through so much that it has brought me around fully to this place of love for everybody. I just love everybody and I don't want to see these things go on anymore. And I want to be a voice, even if it's a small one, because that's why my credibility was ruined. So in a time like this, you wouldn't listen to people like me. I was an influencer before that word existed, and I was canceled before that became a thing, because I started talking about a very specific boys and girls organization, whom the founder of does not believe in the age of consent. And in fact, he has marched in protests to have the age of consent entirely dropped. But he's a nonprofit CEO. He started the Boys and Girls Club. How could he be it's basic information you can find by doing a simple Google search. Yeah, again, we're going over what all of these movies have in common. And I'm trying to, thank you for typing that out, because I'm trying to be very careful about how many times I use certain words. So we did read the plot, okay? This is Danny, all grown up. Jack Nicholson's kid from The Shining. He remains traumatized by what happened at the Overlook Hotel. His hope for a peaceful existence soon becomes shattered when he meets Abracadabra, which means to open a doorway, a teen who shares his extrasensory gift of the shine. Now, here's the thing. What is the shine and how do you get it? I tried to show you with the dark crystal. If you want to talk medically, from what I understand, there is a syringe placed at the nape of the neck, and it is extracted there. No, he doesn't do it. It's not him. He's not the one that does these things. He catches this group of people, okay? Him and her catch them. They form an unlikely alliance to battle the True Knot, a cult whose members try to feed off the shine of innocence to become immortal, okay? I'm sorry if you missed the beginning. You might want to go back and check that out, because I don't want to go over the same stuff, you know. But basically, they kidnap children. When they consume their shine, and all they show, they don't actually show the real, like, I don't want to get too graphic here. You might want to watch it. But yes, it's a reference to the AC issue, Adrena chroma, adrenaline chroma. I mean, I don't know if you'd call them vampires, would you? They're shapeshifters, vampires. I mean, all of these beings from folklore, they all kind of mean the same thing, right? They're stealing someone else's life essence so that they can go on living and live longer, is basically, you know. And so this is when, and yeah, how do they do it? I don't think, do they show it? I don't know if they show the method. They kind of show them like grouping around the child, him getting very scared, and then his soul, like he's so scared, his soul jumps out of his body, or his essence, his spirit, and they suck it in. I think there might be an actual device that they use to do that. But again, we've talked about these people now with eyes that are very blue like this, or people whose eyes have actually changed from being a darker blue, a gray, or a brown, to now being bright blue. And yes, I've noticed people, and again, I don't know if it's the Mr. Smith thing, people are themselves, you know, they say they're so-and-so, but they don't quite look like themselves anymore. So I don't know if it's happening because of this or something more supernatural, okay? I'm sorry, you might want to go back out and come back in. Okay, so Dr. Sleep. Now, let's look at something else that's making the sound of freedom. Jim Caviezel. And again, I sense a motive and an agenda here. My concern is that all the wrong people are going to be accused of doing this, while the bad people still walk free. What do I mean by that? They're blaming it all on people in Hollywood, right? And they're calling Hollywood the elite. Hollywood is not the elite. Let's be very clear about this. They are performers. They are paid entertainers. They might live well and get a few, you know, things that they enjoy, but they're not the elite. They entertain the elite just like we do. They are in service to the system, to the matrix, just like most of us are in some small way still. Most of us still are. Okay? It's very hard to explain. Again, I'm not trying to make false accusations or anything like that. My concern is they're going to dump all this on the people in Hollywood, while the true elites still have their freedom and never come to justice. I think they're going to pin this on the wrong people. And you see it time and time again. Isn't there always a patsy, a fall guy? Lee Harvey Oswald, like that should be all you need to know about that. There's always a fall guy. And my concern with all of this is that it's gonna fall to the wrong group of people. I pray God won't let that happen. I pray that you pray God won't let that happen. I pray that you pray for justice, and I don't like that trend I'm seeing either. Watch what people say on YouTube. Watch what people say on their social media and in interviews. Again, number one, these people saying that, well, we all made the choice to be here. We all put ourselves in some type of position. Help yourself. Those are all Luciferian ideals. You can't call yourself a Christ follower or even someone who just loves their fellow man and say, well, go help yourself. That's not how we're supposed to be. Everybody is down on their luck sometime. Everybody needs compassion at some time and or empathy and a hand up sometime. What happens when it's you who's down and you couldn't help the other person who was down in front of you? You see how this keeps playing out, on and on and on we go? We've got to stop being like that. Because and again, these same people that say, well, that person must have put themselves in that position. They don't believe in saying sorry. They will never apologize, even if they bump into you. And it's very clearly that they did you, a slight. And I'm not saying they did you wrong on purpose. I'm just saying a simple excuse me or an I'm sorry. These people won't do that. And if they get rid of the word victim, you see victim shaming now, then there is no crime. Thus, there is no one to convict, so there is no justice. Do you see how they're reversing everything and taking it apart bit by bit? They did this with our whole American society for the last 10 years on YouTube, getting all of us to be suspicious of and to hate our own country. A house divided shall not stand. This is very simple. We have been played. Most of the truth community has been a front and a farce. Most of them will flat out tell you, I was in the military, was or are. This is all military ops, man. But it's not good military. I don't know what happened to the good military. I honestly don't. But most of the big channels that we've watched for years will tell you straight out, they're military. That one guy from Occult Science will tell you, I'm a Jew, but I'm not like them. But here's what they do. This is their way of confessing, easing their own consciences, but they will never actually see justice if people like us don't stand against it and stand for truth. They could not help that this was coming to the surface and people are knowing about it. They will try to control the rhetoric, and they will control or try to control who actually gets punished for these crimes. And I find it very interesting that the Bible says those who follow Christ, and Christ was not a complier. Like, again, these teachings about him, he did not comply. He even broke some of the laws because he wanted to show us you don't have to follow these. He did some of them out of respect, but they're like being sarcastic. We're told not to be sarcastic. He was sarcastic to his apostles a couple of times. He said, how long must I put up with you? How long, Lord, must I put up with them? These doers and believers in little faith. Christ did not stand idly by. He tried not to cause a ruckus. Like people like me, I try not to cause a ruckus. But even if there's only one person who sees this video and starts paying attention in their own neighborhood, opening their eyes, keeping an eye out for the neighbors, neighbors used to watch each other's children all the time. Like, that's just how it went. Finally, my biggest problem with this is I'm concerned it's a lie. I'm concerned that it's hiding up something else. And I know how that sounds, but I think it's something we have to consider with everything that hits the mainstream, even if it's something they're trying to cover up. We have to ask ourselves, is this the truth? Or is this a way to manipulate us? Because they know that our children are our weak spots. They know this already. The wicked ones, the workers of iniquity. Again, I'm not going to assign it to one club or group of people. I don't make blanket statements. We each have darkness in our hearts, each and every one of us. And I also don't believe in equality. What do I mean by that? I don't mean by people. I'm talking scientifically. Somebody will tell me, well, hey, if there's a plus here in the universe, there's got to be a minus somewhere else to even it out. You know the law that goes against that? The one law that goes against the plus or minus? And plus or minus is basically saying, okay, I'm going to do good and I'm going to plant this tree here. But because I'm planting this tree here, another tree somewhere else on the earth is probably falling down or dying. That's plus or minus as far as the physical manifestations go. Okay? But there is no law against love. Christ told us this. He said the one thing that covers a multitude of sins is love. Do all things from love. If you are confused about a topic, if you can't see the hidden hand, if you can't see the hidden agenda or motivation, and you feel like maybe somebody's trying to manipulate you or control you, act and speak out of love always, and that will cover whatever it is that you're doing. Now, I'm not talking about willful sin or doing things that are wicked like we're talking about here. I'm talking about everyday decisions, right? If you're not quite sure what way to go, if this is right or if this is wrong, do the thing that is love. Do the thing that is love. There's an exception to every rule. So the plus or minus equality thing, as far as science goes, the butterfly effect, somebody is born here on the planet, so somebody else will die at that same time. Per natural law, the one law that breaks that, the one exception to that rule is love. You can do as many and say as many loving things as you want, and that doesn't mean there has to be a minus somewhere else. That's how the earth, this is how we get to the kingdom of heaven, is doing all things through love. All things. So now you have this new movie with Jim Caviezel. It's based on a true story. What is my problem with this? My problem is that there are people right here in America that this is happening to. It doesn't mean I don't want to be a neighbor to somebody. It doesn't mean I don't pray for everybody else. But again, it takes the focus and puts it somewhere else like it's a problem that we can't touch or do something about. It's a problem here in the States. People are brought from all over to come here. America is not what we were told that it is. And I will say that until my dying day or till God corrects me. Joshua's tree, Yeshua's tree. Jesus, what was he hung on? A tree. Golgotha, Skull Rock. It's all a Joshua tree in America. And I know how that sounds. I'm concerned also because his hair is dyed blonde. And I know. That's an Illuminati thing. I don't know why. I don't know where it comes from. I've done it myself under some type of pop culture, MK Ultra or whatever. But as soon as somebody changes their mind or they decide to go another way, they do their hair blonde. I don't know why. It happened to Kanye. Trump's always had the yellowish hair. But there are so many celebrities that have done it. Is alchemical. Yeah, and I don't want to get into right or wrong as far as what alchemical goes, because you could look at some of the things Christ did as alchemical as well. And we're told that is, I believe that we are purposely told that a lot of things are off limits to us to take away, I don't even know how to say it. I'm not talking about people who are blondes. I'm talking about people like in Hollywood, celebrities who suddenly change it and then they change their whole rhetoric and message, or they have a specific message that they're bringing, you know. All you have to do is look it up. I mean, there's so many. Yeah, but alchemical is not just about symbols. You're actually supposed to be transmuting matter. And that's supposed to be the last step in the mystery school. That's what happened with Christ. You could call it quantum mechanics. You could call it alchemical. I don't personally care what you call it. But his body regenerated and rejuvenated and transformed into a form that will not die, will not decay, right? So I'm not one of those people who says like alchemical things are wrong, you know, they're forbidden. I also don't say that stones or crystals are wrong or forbidden. I don't think you should try to scribe with them. I'm not saying anything like that. But I do believe God placed certain things here for our benefit. I do believe there are certain things that vibrate and resonate at a certain frequency, and just by having them around us, They can help keep our mind on heavenly things. That's what that verse means. Keep your mind on heavenly things. Why? Because the demonic entities or energies, the lower level energies, cannot attach to you if your mind is vibrating at a higher frequency, if it's resonating at a higher vibration. That's what that means. Sometimes, though, we have to look at the dark to know what's there and bring a little light to it and say, all right, now how do we fix this? It's time we stopped talking about problems and started talking about solutions. Being problem-centered isn't good. It's very circular. We need to learn to be solution-centered and solution-focused. I hope that makes sense. So here's another movie that talks about very specifically in the real world. And I wanted to show you a couple examples so you could see, okay, this isn't just science fiction woo-woo. This is real world stuff. The same people that think alchemy is wrong go to churches adorned with the alchemical symbols for oil or salt or wax or whatever all over the place. It's communication at its most simple. Yeah, it's symbology. But again, I'm not the one to get into a conversation about that because I've taken art history and I'm an artist and I know where a lot of those symbols originate. And, I don't think symbols are in themselves inherently bad or good. Those are things that, yes, they're things, it's about how you present them, how you perceive them, and how you use them. So yeah, I agree with you. We have to stop listening to the churches in certain arenas because they simply want us to be uneducated and ignorant about certain things so that we're easier to manipulate that way. For example, right now I'm seeing a lot of Catholic channels talk about justice, and they're saying how true forgiveness, if you have true forgiveness in your heart, you don't seek justice. You know why they're saying that? And I'm probably going to end the video here because I really want you to think about this point. Do you know why they're saying that? Think about it. Why would so many Catholic channels right now be dogging the Padre Pio movie? They don't want you seeing that because it's about standing up against tyranny. And even the Catholic channels, Dr. Taylor, he has got doctor in front of him and he's so popular and he's got millions of views. Sure he does. That's because he's spitting out an agenda that they want him to spit out. That's when you get those views. That's when you get the notoriety and the popularity, is when somebody else controls your mouthpiece. I don't do that. I won't do that. And I won't speak for anyone but God and my own self. And yeah, I'll speak for God. Anyone can. I'm not saying it'll go well. But I have a relationship with God. I know God. And God talks to me daily and I talk to God. And when God says, hey, you need to tell people about this, I do. I listen these days. That's why. What? I'm sorry, there's always a lag. So when somebody comments, I don't know what they're referring to exactly. I'm sorry. So why do you think that they are telling us that we should not be, why do you think all of the channels have that same feel to them right now? They're saying, don't thirst for justice. Oh, go to sleep. That's why. Yeah. On one hand, it's because they know they've done something wrong and that if we seek justice, it will be against certain people. The ones who are, and they'll look like good guys. They'll play like good guys. But if they're telling you, let me be very clear here. The Bible says those who thirst for justice are blessed. God blesses those who seek true justice. And I'm not promoting violence. I'm not saying go get justice on yourself. I'm saying pray for it. Ask for it. Pray that it comes to fruition. Be a witness in a court case if you have to. I don't know your situation. I don't know what you're exposed to daily or what you see. Seeking justice and unforgiveness are not mutually exclusive. You can forgive and still pray for God's justice to come to a person. It is possible. They don't want our minds on justice right now because they know there are things going on that shouldn't be going on. And if they're found out, they don't want a lynch mob, a whole community of parents coming after them. That's why I can't find a church near me. None have made news for speaking out on anything. I don't care if a church makes news, like me. Like, I've not made the news, but I'm speaking up as I can, when I can, to who I can, right? Even if it's just 5 or 10 of you here and now who see this video. Maybe I'll show something, right? One of these symbols, alchemical things will come to you, one of the symbology. Maybe I'll say something. Maybe you'll watch the movie. Maybe you'll recognize something in your own neighborhood and you'll have a chance then to stand firm in truth. But it can't just be one of us. We have to all dig in. We must do this. We must. And again, I have no use anymore for people saying, well, they must have done something to deserve it. No. Somebody I used to really admire, Pockets on his channel. That's when I quit watching his channel. When he said that the children who are abused must have done something in a previous life to deserve that, I stopped watching him. I will not entertain people like that. Yeah. Yeah, I didn't go to any of the churches that wanted me to wear a mask or any of that stuff. And I honestly, did I go to church at that time? Yes. That's when I was church hopping and God told me to go witness and go see what was going on in the churches. And I still haven't found close and in person a person that I believe has a true relationship with God. Like, I really haven't. And I allegedly work with Christians, but they mentioned this movie the other day, when I was leaving work. And they were talking, these two amongst themselves, the two that I've seen around town, I have kind of, a friendly relationship with. The one I had a run-in once with a mask. She wanted me to wear a mask where she was working. I said I wouldn't, so I left. And I should have, I told you from the beginning that I was suspicious of this job being offered to me. Because there's always connections in a small town, and I find it very funny that people are hating on me for some of the things of my past when they have true wickedness that they have done, and I know about because they've told me about. And that's not what speaking out against this is what got me targeted, and not going with the flow is what got me targeted. And there's no point in stopping now, and I'm not gonna stop as long as I have breath, as long as I can speak. Even if I can't speak and I have to write it out, like, and my enemies aren't getting it, you're not going to get rid of me. I will not. I am dug in. And it's with a purpose. God asked me to do something. And to the best of my ability, I'm doing it. But sometimes you have to be willing to put yourself in the lion's den and become bait. I feel like we are at the end of the Bible book. A lot of people feel that way. But let me be very honest with you too. Some of these Agent Smith types, some of these enemies that we have, they want us to believe that, and you have to ask yourself why. I stopped reading the KJV because I didn't like the things I found out about King James. And because once I realized the Catholic book had all the Bibles and that Protestantism took a lot of them out, I don't trust people that do that. I don't trust censorship. I want to know Christ, and for me, that means going back as far as I can to whatever church or group was closest to his life in his own time when he walked the earth. So to me, that's not a current church. I want to go back to the beginning and find out what they used to teach and what the doctrine used to be and was before. I'm sorry, I missed your comment. You can type out bump, and it'll make them reappear, and I can see them again. I apologize for being on a cell phone, but I try to make up for it with my charm. No, I'm kidding. I try to make up for it with my background and my education, and I try to use the little bit of skills that I have to bring things to awareness to people. And I encourage other people to do the same. Am I on the same level as Jim Caviezel? Heck no. Like, I could never make an impact like this person can. But does it matter? Does the world have to know who we are and know our names? My goal is to be a saint, and I know that's probably never going to happen from the Catholic Church. My goal is to make that happen and to emulate others who have gone before me, not even for myself, but so that my sons can see, wow, people really can transform when they turn back, when they turn the other way, when they start walking with the one who made them. That is what's natural. Nature is natural. Natural law is key. And I hope I made I hope I made it clear. I know I speak differently than other people. I know I think differently. So I try to monitor my speech these days, and I try to speak in ways that are easy to understand from any genre, no matter what your personal paradigm is, whether that be Christian, New Age, just a moral person who cares about our society and where our children's generation is headed. You know, we got to find some common ground here. And for me, that common ground is love. People who say, well, I don't care what's going to happen tomorrow, I'm not going to be here. That's a horrible way to look at things. And people like that, frankly, should not ever have children. And some of them had many children. And honestly, it's disgusting, and it's what made this world a lot harder for some of us. Because people like that don't deserve to be parents. They have no idea what love is. Love is when you put yourself on the line and you put their well-being ahead of your own. Love is you standing in front of that bus that's about to run them over. Love is you speaking truth to diminish the illusion that they're under. All right, so I'm going to show you this. Darn, and this was supposed to be like the bulk. I don't know why it popped in my head. I have no idea why it popped in my head. I'll be very honest with you. But I was thinking of all these old men and the old regime and how things used to be done. And top hats popped into my head. And they do on occasion because I don't understand them. Most people, especially back in the day, when people were wiser and more educated, I don't believe that we are evolving, maybe spiritually, but socially, we are totally devolving. And it's very sad to see. You should be sad. The people who aren't bothered by the things that are happening, the people who never say, I'm sorry, even when it's blatantly obvious you did something, whether it was on purpose or not, like I said, even just bumping into somebody. The people who never say they're sorry, the people who say, well, you must have put yourself in this situation. It must have been something you did to deserve being abused like that. We cannot accept and receive rhetoric like that any longer. Those are lies. They're lies. They're not truth. People say that because they are reprobate. They don't have a conscience anymore. It's very important we understand this because these people are very dangerous to the weakest in our society, who are the infirm, who are the disabled, who are the elderly, and who are the young, who are the weak. And yeah, it's a scientific fact. Men have larger bone density than women. They should be watching after women at this time, but most men are lost. I don't know what the magic words are going to be to wake people up. But I pray that I have an effect, my words have an effect on just one of you. Not for me, not because for you. So the message can be passed along. These things, they have to catch fire in someone else's heart. That's how we change things. It might be one individual mind at a time, but it's sparking that awareness in another one. It's not enough for you just to wake up. Waking up, okay, now you're ready to get to work. But you have a responsibility and an obligation once you're awake. These are our brothers and sisters and our children here. Our mothers, our fathers, our sisters, our uncles, our cousins, our nieces, our nephews. Why are we allowing these things? Where's everybody's conscience went? Does no one care? And I know people don't like to hear this. People will stop the video. They won't watch anymore. That's the whole point. That's what's wrong with us. Is that when we hear something that makes us a little uncomfortable, we turn it off or we stop it. We need to be uncomfortable. I never understood the purpose of top hats. They're not very practical. Do they look all right? I mean, they're kind of neat looking if you get into the steampunk era. What the heck, though? Who come up with this idea? I was very surprised when this just popped in my head and I saw Some strange things. Didn't know it was Yiddish. What else is new? What is the story behind the top hat? The inventor of the top hat was a haberdasher by the name of John Hetherington, who in 1797 walked the streets of London in his new invention, and it caused a riot. What does the top hat symbolize? Remember, they're also in Monopoly. The symbolism of the top hat: status, power, masculinity. Men who wanted to get ahead in Victorian society had to wear a tapper, and yet they complained bitterly about this tyrannical accessory. Okay. Who else was wearing a top hat? Well, the main witch, shapeshifter, vampiric character in Dr. Sleep was wearing one. What do they symbolize? Magic. What is magic? Magic is not real. Magic is an illusion. I'm not saying alchemical things aren't real. I'm not saying synchronistic things don't happen. Words matter. Okay? I'm saying magic is just illusion. An illusion is fakery. It is okay to see this world system. I'm not talking about nature, not talking about beautiful things that we've seen of the earth. I'm talking about the system itself that's set up in the world system, the government, all that stuff. The economy, everything. Okay? So when I say world system, that's what I mean, that matrix, that's what I'm talking about. There's nothing wrong with seeing it as fake because it is fake. The system itself is fake, and the way we use the money is fake. It's all play. It's all distraction to keep people busy and their minds off of, oh my gosh, I'm going to die someday. What's going to happen then? Nobody wants to talk about death. How do we avoid it? Not through fakery, not through illusion, not through stealing someone else's essence. That's not how you get it. It's not how you get there. We're supposed to get there in our spirit and through our own resonance and vibration. We're not supposed to need help like that. Christ did it. Christ said we could do anything he did. That's true. Christ is the Son of God, but I'm also the daughter of God, and you're a son of God, and you're a daughter of God. We have to start opening our minds to different ways of looking at things. I'm not saying to accept and receive BS or lies. There's a difference in being closed-minded and closed off and being cautious and weary about what you put in your eye gates and your ear gates. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a quick upload about the history of the top hat because you're going to be very interested in a couple of things I found, but I don't want this video itself to go any longer. So I'm going to end this one. I will, however, upload one on the top hat, or we can do that later this evening because I'm off tomorrow too. And I wanted to tell you guys, anyone who's interested, please comment below when the video posts or over on the community tab somewhere. I'll see it. But post, or maybe I'll do a community post. I have the book, Dark Night of the Soul. For those of you who enjoy hearing me read, and I know some of you have in the past, when we did Adam and Eve and whatnot, and I try to maintain a calm voice and a calm tone when I'm doing like bedtime readings and whatnot. But this book was written by St. John's of the Cross, and it's his Dark Night of the Soul. Now, we've read links about this phenomenon, which a lot of us have went through, especially if you've experienced an NDE or you were exposed to information like we were presenting in this video in a shocking way like I was. And you hit the dark night of the soul because you realize, wow, the world is not the way I thought it was. And then you look at your own self and you're like, wow, I'm not as clean and shiny as I thought I was. Dark night of the soul can make you feel really less alone. And again, we've read a lot of links about this, but this is the actual book from the person who coined the phrase, who wrote all about the dark night of the soul. Okay. It's St. John of the Cross. Let me see if but there's a few things right in the beginning in chapter 1 and 2 that really edified me, and they made me feel like somebody else out there knew or understood what I was going through. This is why, again, I present these hard topics. They're easier to come to terms with if it's in story form. That's why our fairy tales are the way they are. Finally, On a high strangeness aspect. Okay, so first of all, comment if you want to see Dark Night or hear Dark Night of the Soul, because I know some of you were interested in it back in the day. I'll also post it on the Brie and Jen channel just to see if anyone over there wants to hear any of it this evening. So let me know. The other thing is we did touch base on celebrities looking different during the pandemic, and I hope that website was fake. Like, I don't understand. Like, they just come right out and said all that stuff. I'm shocked, to be honest with you. I'm still processing that bit of information from Ambrosia. Like, that just shocked me, really. But another way is, do we have beings here that are no longer of mankind? Are they skinwalkers? I got a message. I was listening to some creepypastas trying to learn about cryptids because I wanted to see, like vampires and skinwalkers, how many beings had that in common, where they had to take the essence of another being for their life to keep going. And so I was looking into that. And I actually was praying at that same time. This was a few months back. And I didn't know this, but North American Indians, they used to do ceremonies and set up borders, allegedly, for these beings not to cross around the national parks. Allegedly, what's happening is a few different things. One of the things is there's no one to do those rituals anymore, and the line that held those things back is now down. And this is just another reason why prayer is so important. And again, I'm not getting into a religious debate. I know a lot of Native American Indians that are Catholic. Not know personally, but I've seen on YouTube and online. And they maintain their culture. There's a difference between having your faith and practicing that, but also having your culture, which is your people's tradition, okay? There's a difference, and these religious leaders keep wanting us to, like, lose our culture, and God never wanted that. He wanted us each to have, number one, it's more beautiful to look down upon. Number two, it's a part of who you are. We were never meant to be a hive mind of the Holy Spirit. I was talking to somebody recently who believes that we should take the Gnostic approach and somehow try to combine ourselves or mesh or meld with each other, man and woman, to become one androgynous being. This is how people are thinking now. I'm not doing that. That's going backwards. God made us individuals for a reason. I don't think we're all supposed to go back to one giant bright light and become some giant hive type being where we're all, when God says we're all one, I don't think that's what is meant. Our individuality is important. We're not meant to. And I was listening to somebody talk about that the other day. You know, the saints, they stood out. They were individuals, and each one of them were different from each other. They weren't the same. You know who's all the same? They think they're being themselves. They think they're individuals. But every Luciferian that I've talked to, every Satanist, whether they are knowingly worshiping or they are just by default, every single one of them thinks the same. They say the same things. If I hear one more of them ask me, well, who made God? Who made God? That's such a juvenile approach. And then the other one is, do you know that human beings are the only animals that drink milk from another animal into their adulthood? For some reason, they legit don't want us drinking milk. And I've gotten into this with people, and again, I think we have to understand some of us are being treated as cattle. They don't want us consuming certain things because they don't want it in their diet. Are people getting it yet? Like, are you seeing where we live yet? And it's only because we're not standing up and saying, loud and proud, I do not consent. I do not consent to any of this, and I do not want my maker lumping me in with people who are doing these things. But you have to look at the long-term motivation and who's speaking a message and why they're speaking it. They don't want us seeking justice because they're guilty. They don't want us to say we're victims because then that means there's a crime. Then that means somebody's guilty. Then that means somebody has to pay because there has to be justice. Do you see how all this goes together? The whole satanic, Luciferian, illuminated group, they have turned into the hive mind. You talk to one, it's like talking to all of them. They all say the same things. And I'm sorry, I don't mean to offend. If I said some things that have come out of your mouth, ask who you're serving today. I've lived around these people for a long time, and I did not know they were this way. Until I came to God, I was blinded. I did not see what was being orchestrated around me and my children. When I say I'm in a bad position, that's not a joke. Doesn't mean my husband gets mad every now and again and beats the crap. I wish it was just that. I wish that's how it worked. If I displease or I say something displeasing and I go out into town today, I will have to deal with this every stop I make from somebody. That's my life now. I am on my own. If I can be brave enough to do this, if I can be brave enough and courageous enough, praise God, to stand in truth because of God, I know that you guys can. Okay, I'm going to end this because I didn't want it to be super long. Watch for a video on the history of top hats. It's actually important. And where it comes from is ironic. And let me know if you want to hear some excerpts from St. John of the Cross. It's a Dover Thrift edition. It's like super little. It's not that big. But it really edified me. Just the first couple chapters made me feel less alone. So if you're interested in like bedtime reading this evening, let me know. I've missed you guys. All right. Thanks to those who stopped by who are new. I can't promise that I'm going to get better at the editing and stuff. I don't know if I'm going to do that. It's just not on my to-do list. What's most important is the message, and that the message gets passed along, and that everybody, that one candle lights the next candle, lights the next candle. We need to be aware of what's happening. It's not going to do any good to keep our heads in the sand. And it takes courage, and it takes bravery. And if I can be courageous and brave, I know that all of you can. I love you guys. I value your opinions. And if you'd like to share your testimony or a story anonymously, shoot me an email. It's in the About section. I love you guys. Pray for me like I pray for you.